Hello and welcome to the Album Man. And today, as you can see, I'm doing the second part of my Hard Rock Hour HRH Prog Fest review and the festival for 2013, of course. So, in part 1 we took a look at the event itself, the venue, facilities and random stuff like that, and the first band who I saw, which were Credo. And now we're going to be taking a look at the second band that I saw. And this is the band Shattered Skies. So, who are Shattered Skies? Well, they are different to, well, most of the bands at this festival, and provide some variety in the generally otherwise ethereal 70s prog circle jerk, as they seem to be an Irish melodic metal, but obviously with, progressive tendencies band. Now, some have labelled them as djent. I can't say I really know what djent actually entails. You could tell me below, that'd be cool, but I base djent off the only band that I know definitely is djent, which is Meshuggah, and this band doesn't sound like Meshuggah, so I'm not sure if they really are proper djent, but again, I don't have enough knowledge of that genre to judge. Anyway, this band seems to have purely clean vocals, certainly by the stuff they played, which is something I like, as, I'm not a growling vocal fan at all. And the members on this band are Sean Murphy on vocals, Ross McMahon on drums, and Ian Rocket on guitar, as the bassist they had was a replacement, the second replacement of the day. Now, this band is a band that I wasn't really too familiar with their material, to be honest. I was only familiar with a couple of singles, a couple of newest songs of theirs, but that was it really. I mainly decided to give them a go as there were no other bands playing, and, may as well. And to be honest, I'm very glad I did, very glad. So, what songs did they play? They played 15 Minutes, Beneath the Waves, and Saviours. Now, I have a feeling they played more, but I don't know the names of them. If they did, I'm afraid. But anyway, I had no expectations for this band, but they were certainly, well, entertaining to watch. The songs are of a really high standard. It was some really cool metal prog, or prog metal, whatever. And I was, at first in the set, I was a little sceptical of Sean's vocal ability, and I did find him to be a little weak at first. But I might put that down to more nerves or something, because as the show progressed, he seemed to become a lot stronger. But definitely, especially with the really cool song, which is just the guitarist on piano and Sean's voice, which I think was Beneath the Waves. It was a stripped down version of Beneath the Waves. And yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, he definitely dispelled all doubt I had about his voice, and he can sing. Also, towards the end of one of the songs, the drummer seemed to break one of his sticks, and had to finish the song with just the one stick, and then had to go looking for one, as he only had one pair, which is quite funny. It took him a while to find it. Anyway, the only thing that's really a shame about this band is the fact that their album/EP is only available on digital download through Bandcamp, and no physical release seems to exist. So if their label picks them up, then definitely want to keep an eye out and watch for the future, and if they do release any albums physically, I'd definitely get and review it. So, I'll play you the song Beneath the Waves. That was my favourite of the songs I saw, so enjoy the little clip of that.
You feel like the world's upon you, constricting every breath you take, and even when all seems before you, it drifts away.
Okay, so that was Shattered Skies. So let's move on to the more standard sound that you tend to get at this. Though that's not to say this next band's a standard, I don't mean that in any way, shape or form. We have an exceptional band here, and this is The Reasoning. The Reasoning are a Welsh female-fronted prog band who have started to gain some steam in recent years and have released 4 albums, each of which is very good, and their debut Awakening their best in my opinion, and is a stunning, stunning album, especially 2 songs on it, which I'll talk about a bit later. And a note to The Reasoning, please make or release available Awakening even on CD, because I'd love to buy it instead of listening to it on crappy Spotify. Anyway, the band consists of Rachel Cohen on vocals, Tony Terrell on keyboards, Matthew Cohen on bass, and Jake Bradford Sharp on drums. And their fairly new guitarist Keith Hawkins, as their last guitarist O'Rain Roberts quite literally disappeared last year, and I mean he's actually filed as a missing person. Yeah. Anyway, what did they play? Well, they played quite a few songs, which is awesome. So they played Hyperdrive, Dark Angel, The 13th Hour, The Omega Point, No Friend of Mine, Awakening, Adventures in Neverland, and last and certainly not least, Aching Hunger. And this was a very strong set, and they performed it to an excellent standard. A song that I liked, sort of studio, but completely blew me away live was the song The 13th Hour from the Adverse Camber album, which I managed to get signed, which is always cool. And that version was the best I'd heard of it, and it was just absolutely sublime. I mean, as I said, it was such a strong set by such an exceptionally strong band, but I think the last three songs were they were out of this world, you know. The songs Awakening from the Awakening album, Adventures in Neverland from the new, Adventures in Neverland album, and Aching Hunger, which is also from Awakening. And Aching Hunger especially, that is their best song, without a doubt in my mind. It has such an infectiously catchy chord. It's a big, long song, it's just epic. So the guitar work in general from Keith was fantastic. He seemed to fit in like a glove, as with the exception of the new Adventures in Neverland, I hadn't actually heard what he sounds like. Rachel's voice as well deserves a notable mention, and she delivered a top-notch vocal performance, which I'd expect from such an immensely talented vocalist. They really are fantastic live and studio bands. Definitely recommend checking them out. And I will leave you with a bit of, let's see what I'll play. I'll play you a bit of On the 13th Hour.
In the space between us, can you feel the 13th hour? If you believe your will is strong, then that's enough.
Okay, so that was the reasoning. And let us move on to a band who not only were the best of the entire festival in my opinion, but one of the best live acts I've ever seen in my entire life, up there with artists such as Joe Bonamassa and Roger Waters performing The Wall. A seriously high standard. I cannot give this band or even person enough praise. This is The Crazy World of Arthur Brown. Now, who's Arthur Brown, some of you may ask? Well, Arthur Brown is the British maverick of a musician, a one-of-a-kind, and to the general populace, a bit of a one-hit wonder, scoring a #1 with Fire in 1968. So yes, he is pretty old, 70 in fact, and he proves why age doesn't matter when it comes to rock music. His band consists of him on vocals, Jim Mortimer on bass, Samuel Walker on drums, I'm going to mess this now, but Lucy Regchiatova on keys, and Nina Gromniak on guitar. And what songs did he play? Well, I don't remember them all, but the ones I do remember, he played Devil's Grip, I Put a Spell on You, which is a Screaming Jay Hawkins cover, Time, Voice of Love, Spontaneous Apple Creation, Fire Poem, Going Into Fire, and then he also played The Green Manalishi with a Two-Pronged Crown, which is of course a Peter Green cover. Now, he did play a song after that, but I honestly can't remember what it was. Anyway, so as I said, well, all the musicians I saw were very good. Not one dud I saw. Arthur Brown, he took things to a new level, a different plane to the other bands. It was just immense. Even if you don't like the music that much, you'll still enjoy the show. And I emphasise show, as The Crazy World of Arthur Brown it's more than just a concert, it is a show. Arthur Brown, though 70, he doesn't do away with the stage tricks and over-the-top costumes. He embraces what he used to do and does it just the same. He was wearing his colourful face paint, what seemed like 100 layers of clothing that he'd gradually take off as the set wore on. I mean, he ended up at one point just pulling some fox skin thing out of his trousers and putting it on the keyboardist. You just don't get that in a normal concert. And of course he wore his trademark fire helmet while playing Fire. It's truly a sight to see. And he danced on stage and moved more vigorously than performers less than half his age. To think that he can still do it it's amazing. But the thing is with Arthur Brown, he doesn't just rely on gimmicks. No. He has the music to back up this spectacular stage show, and that's what makes it so good. It's not just a gimmicky show, it's a concert that's phenomenal in its own right, but added together with all the just quirky stuff of Arthur Brown, it just makes it immense. And he can stand to toe with pretty much anyone's music, especially live, mainly live in fact. From his superb covers of I Put a Spell on You and The Green Man Unleash, to his own songs like Fire and Fire Poem before it, to the lesson and stuff like Time and Spontaneous Apple Creation and the slower ballady Voice of Love. No song was a dud. Instead, the whole experience, emphasis on experience, was a mesmerising show. Now Arthur's voice, he's 70. I mean, if you know his stuff, he screams a lot, like, you know, on his records. So what happens? Can he still do those high-pitched screams? Yeah, he can. His voice is phenomenal. Okay, yes, he can't sustain them for as long as he could, but he is 70 and can still hit those notes and sustain them for long enough, especially at the end when he lets out one final scream. It's just amazing how well preserved his voice is. And all the musicians he has his backing band are fantastic, but one of them stood out above the rest. And that was Lucy, the keyboardist, who was, in my opinion, the most talented musician I saw that day, and a seriously talented keyboardist who blew me off my feet with her sheer skill. I mean, not only could, you know, she not only could play the keyboard in just such a, she put so much like passion into it. It was amazing. But also there was some, you know, more sort of the show things, like Arthur came and picked up the keyboard while she was still playing it and started twisting it around and she didn't miss a note. But again, it didn't rely on gimmicks like that to make her performance seem good. When, you know, she was just playing the keyboards, she was just phenomenal, to be honest. Absolutely stunning keyboardist. To be honest, I can't recommend more. Go and see Arthur Brown if you're just a fan of live rock music and if you like the song Fire. That's all you need to enjoy this. And I assure you, you will have an absolute blast. I will leave you with a bit of Fire just to make sure you all know exactly who I'm talking about.
Fire, I'll take you to burn. Fire, I'll take you to learn.
So, Crazy World of Arthur Brown, go and see the guy. Just do it. And lastly, on this part, we are going to be talking about It Bites. Who are It Bites? They are a prog rock pop band, yes, who are starting to gain quite a lot of notoriety in the prog world, especially because they last released a critically acclaimed Map of the Past, which was in my top 10 favourite albums of 2013 and is just stunning. Now, It Bites, just give you a little bit of their history first. There are two distinctly different periods. Their classic period, which featured guitarist and vocalist Francis Dunnery, and they released 3 albums between 86 and 89, including scoring a hit with the song Calling All the Heroes in 86. And they then reformed 20 years later, in 2006, with the superbly talented John Mitchell, who is the vocalist and guitarist of the band, and also is a member still of the band Asia, and is just the guitarist for that band. And I mean, he made his debut for that band on The Wonderful Visitor, which I think is their best album. That's a stunning album. And yeah, he's played with them everything since then, up to, what's the last album? 13 Degrees of Separation. Still need to hear that. Don't know why I haven't. I have it on my iPod. I just haven't got around to. Need to. Anyway, the reform with John, they've made 2 albums, Tall Ships and Map of the Past, which are, in my opinion, the best albums It Bites have ever made. I'm not really the biggest fan of the Francis Dunnery, I have to admit. Now, the other members in this band are John Beck on keyboards, Bob Dalton on drums, and Lee Pomeroy on bass. So what do they play? They play Kiss Like Judas, Ghosts, The Big Machine, The Wind That Shakes the Barley, Old Man the Angel, Calling All the Heroes, and I think that was it. Pretty sure that was it. So, Kiss Like Judas, Old Man the Angel, and Calling All the Heroes are from the Francis Dunnery era, and Big Machine, Wind That Shakes the Barley, and Ghosts are from the John Mitchell era. So as you can see, it's quite a balanced set. Anyway, unfortunately this show started with a few technical difficulties, which meant it ran about 10 to 15 minutes late, which is very disappointing because obviously they had to cut their set, and I love the band. And there were still some difficulties as the show progressed, especially keyboardist John Beck's microphone, which wasn't working for a while. Then it did start working, and then at one point it was so loudly mixed up, it was actually deafening. I mean, it was stupidly loud. I mean, I like loud music, but this was ear-bleedingly loud, and I literally dread him singing a single note. Luckily that was fixed very quickly. but it was still horrible while it lasted. So the sound, it wasn't the best because of the technical difficulties, but in general, they performed bloody well. They are a damn good live band. Everyone performed as I'd expect, and I mean, the song that really stood out for me was my favourite It song, and I knew this would stand out, but The Wind That Shakes the Barley from the Tall Ships album. This is an epic 7 to 8 minute song that is so damn catchy, so long, so neo-proggy, it's epic. But my only problem really with the set was they chose to play Old Man Angel, which is a Francis Dunaway song, as I said, and yeah, it's a decent 9-minute song. But they really do have better stuff, certainly in my opinion, that they could have played. I think, you know, they could have played something like, if they wanted to play something else from the Francis era, what about All in Red? They didn't play that. That's one of the most famous Francis era songs. And then they also, because All in Red isn't that long a song, they could have played Cartoon Graveyard from Map of the Past as well. But no, they played Old Man Angel. Still, they performed really well, and I loved them a lot. So I'll leave you with a little bit of The Wind That Shakes the Barley. Okay, so that was It Bites. And that concludes part 2 of my Hard Rock Hell Prog Festival 2013 review. So tune in for part 3, where we'll have bands like Mostly Autumn, Hawkwind, and Martin Tanner's Wishbone Ash. This being the Album Man, thanks for watching, can't forget to subscribe, and as usual, long live rock and roll.